Religious allusions in Lord of the Flies. Sir William Golding was a religious man. Although his father was an insistent atheist, Golding decided to pursue Christianity regardless. Whilst he was never a part of any established church, Golding's novel Lord of the Flies was brimming with biblical allusions. Also, the dominant religion in England and the rest of Europe in his lifetime was Christianity, which would inspire Golding to write his novel with numerous scriptural symbols.
The title. The religious symbols begin to come prevalent before one even opens the book. The title, Lord of the Flies, is an English translation of the Hebrew word the paramount devil in many Abrahamic religions. Titling the novel Lord of the Flies was a subtle way for Golding to essentially name the book after the devil.
Page 1. On the first page of the book, Golding describes the island that the boys crash on as Edenic, as a reference to the Garden of Eden from the Genesis of the Bible. Golding does this because the Bible story can be compared to the novel in several ways, such as vegetation destroyed by man, and the two places being destinations of innocence and inexperience, and the devil being present. The island was described to have 2 acres of fruit trees. Flower and fruit grew together on the same tree, and everywhere was the scent of ripeness and the blooming of millions of bees at pasture. This is described much like the Garden of Eden, which had been said in the Bible to be of goodiest trees, loaded with fairest fruit, blossoms and fruits at once of golden hue appeared with gay enamel colors mixed. Next, the island and the Garden of Eden were calm, as they were both beautiful places that were ruined as soon as mankind was introduced. In the Lord of the Flies, Roger and Maurice came out of the forest. Roger led the way through the castles, kicking them over, burying the flowers, and scattering the chosen stones. Maurice followed, laughing, and added to the destruction. In the Genesis, Adam and Eve sinned by eating the fruit in the place that God created for them, thus ruining it. Finally, there is a devil present in both the Garden of Eden and on the island, as there is a devil disguised as a snake in the Garden of Eden that convinces Adam and Eve to sin. And there is the Lord of the Flies, which is a pig head on a stick that tells the boys what to do as they fear it, much like how Adam and Eve feared the devil.
Page 74. Jack does not let Piggy have any meat, and Simon, although being very hungry, sacrifices his piece of meat for Piggy to eat, too. Jack demands Simon to eat, when clearly Simon doesn't want to. Much like during Lent, the devil demanded Jesus to eat, though he knew Jesus was sent to the desert for 40 days to fast. Simon is slowly developing as a Jesus figure through sacrifice and kindness, whereas Jack begins to emerge as the devil through anger and force. Maybe it is a bit early to tell, but watch for this recurring symbol as the video continues. Also, Simon helps the children on the island by getting them fruit to eat, and also helps build the shelters to keep the boys protected. Simon separates himself from the normal attitude of survival of the fittest on the island and helps his peers around him, much like Jesus.
Page 89. Simon says, "I don't know if there's a beast. Maybe it's only us," suggesting that the boys were destroying the island and each other, just like how Jesus predicted on Earth, that humans would cause all the harm. Spoiler alert, the boys rejected Simon's ideas and ignored him, just like Jesus' ideas were rejected. And at the end of the novel, he was killed for them, much like Jesus was. Page 143. Simon is the only one who has the ability to talk to the Lord of the Flies out of the boys, and much like Jesus, who was the only man on earth to communicate with the devil. After their talk, the Lord of the Flies says to Simon, "You knew, didn't you?" indicating that Simon knew that the Lord of the Flies was mankind all along, just as Jesus had.
Page 153. Simon dies when all he did on the island was do good for his peers and warn them of possible danger. When Simon is killed by the boys on the island, it is a similar event to the killing of Jesus, a man who came down from the heavens as a mortal to help the common people. Both of the characters were innocent, and both died for their people's sins. Simon is very similar to Jesus, as he cares for people who are, in reality, below him, like how he gives fruit to little ones, which is like Jesus' Palm Sunday. Also, another similarity between the two is that they were very spiritual and very introverted. Simon kept a low profile on the island, even though he is very helpful, much like how Jesus chose to live as a mortal carpenter while being the Son of God. Both of them had very spiritual lives, as Simon and many a time on the island went off on his own to meditate, and how Jesus would always follow the spiritual example of God. In fact, Simon shares his name with one of Jesus' disciples. Page 146. In the final minutes of his life, Simon is very bloody, cut up, and stumbles down to the beach, half-consciously, carrying a dead man's body. On the day that Jesus died, he was all bloody and cut up from being whipped by Roman warriors. But most importantly, like Simon, Jesus was forced to carry the very heavy cross in which he would be crucified on. Both characters are killed brutally when their only intention was to warn and help their peers.
Bonus facts. Triangles. The constant referral to triangles and trios is similar to Christian belief in the Holy Trinity, as God was accompanied by the Holy Spirit in Jesus. Examples of this throughout the story is Ralph's crew, consisting of Piggy, Simon, and Ralph, and Jack's gang of Jack, Roger, and Maurice.